Welcome to the What's Your Ceiling podcast. We're your hosts, Mote Wyatt and Paul Szynski. Wherever you are in life, there is a higher ceiling. This podcast is how you become aware of it and how to take action to push through it. It's time to discover your ceiling. Before we get into this month's episode, here's a short message from Adding Zero's Executive Development. As CEO, you demand performance and results from your team. If you're committed to developing a cohesive, driven organization that achieves successful outcomes every single month, we need to talk. It's time to see how organizational and executive development from Adding Zeros can help. We focus on strategic planning, executive coaching, team alignment and engagement, organizational culture, and clarity of implementation. Contact Mote Wyatt by booking an appointment at www.addZerosNow.com. That's AddZerosNow.com. AddZerosNow.com. If you're ready, now is the time. I have a few coaching spots available for 2025. Lock in your team today. Now let's begin today's episode. Welcome to the What's Your Ceiling podcast, where we talk about your health, your family, your business. I'm your host, Mote Wyatt. I'm looking forward to today's show. We've got a gentleman who has built a business that is serving many customers in many ways in the financial world. And he calls it an ecosystem of financial services. And so I'm going to welcome Jimmy Rios to the show, and looking forward to a great conversation, Jimmy.
Thank you, Monty. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I look forward to our conversation and hearing how you've built the business, how you've grown yourself, and how you grow your businesses. And so if you would just give us a couple minutes on your business and how you got started and what all you got your hands into.
I appreciate it. Definitely. Not over 25 years ago, I saw a need to help people in financial services. And I started out with property management and mortgages, real estate. But as they were coming to me, they had these different needs, and traditionally you would quarterback it out and send them off to a tax guy or an insurance guy or mortgage or real estate. And because of most of my clients were Hispanic, Latino based, Spanish speaking, I needed to help them and needed to build their trust that we could help them. So I started getting my licenses in all the different formats to be able to help them. And over time, it developed into an ecosystem of a little financial services universe around what we did in helping people. And credit became a very big part of that, because almost everybody has to go through the credit bridge to be able to get approved for whatever it is they're trying to do. And then ultimately, businesses started coming to me because many of these people were business owners that were trying to buy a house and didn't know how to put together a deal because they would get denied by the banks in traditional funding. But they had the ability to pay. They just couldn't show it properly. So I started using the tools that I had learned and gained over time to be able to put structures together and be able to bring experts in other fields that could help me take a person from point A to point B to point C and get the deal done. And we got extremely creative. We got really good at building. We have a saying, we manufacture yeses. We don't believe in no's, right? So if we can work to get you a yes, it's better than getting that dreaded denial letter that has a little checkbox marked off and nobody's there to help you get to the approval. We understand that there's going to be denials and there's going to be setbacks. So we found ways to educate and help people cross that bridge. At the end of the day, if I win, you win, and vice versa, right? So that became the platform for Rios Business Advisors, Rios Financial Group, Next Level Credit. These are my companies that we help all these individuals, not just in Arizona, but nationwide. And we just recently opened our doors in Medellin, Colombia. So now we're international. We're being able to do this and duplicate the model on a worldwide scale. It's exciting.
That is exciting. I love to hear all the things you're offering, and we call our audience the achiever, and because they're always striving for the next level, and you're definitely one of those folks. You're achieving and get your hands in a lot of things. So wonderful. You know,
Thank
as I said, the show's called "What's Your Ceiling." We love to hear how you've grown in yourself and your business to get to where you are. So tell us a little bit about, from maybe starting the first business to the fifth business, whatever it might be, on
Yeah,
how you had to grow in your thinking or how you had to grow as an individual.
Monty, that's a great question, and actually something that needs to be said because you've seen the iceberg where they talk about, well, you have the success at the top, but they don't see all the things below the water that encompasses the big part of the iceberg. And when we talk about business and what I've done, I like to talk about it from the bottom up because the success at the tip of that iceberg is what you might get looking at Facebook, right? But nobody saw the 20 plus years of struggles, bankruptcy, imposter syndrome, all these crazy things that we go through as entrepreneurs in building our business, heartaches, sleepless nights. What do we do to get up every day to keep moving forward, to keep, I call it a book, Failing Forward, right? You're failing, but you keep going forward because there's going to be a light at the end of that tunnel. And for me, at the beginning, it was my battles with my ego because I was a 25-year-old, buck that thought he knew it all and indestructible. I can do it all, right? And because um, I was very apt and very aggressive in taking things and learning and getting my licenses and not saying no to anything. Let's go. It worked to a point until it didn't, until I started failing, until I started making mistakes. And there's something to be said about making mistakes and learning from those mistakes because what I didn't do was rely on experts, mentors, advisors, people that knew more than me. But what I did was if I thought I could do it, I would do it. And that was a big mistake because I remember my dad as an immigrant, first generation Colombian American, he would try to do everything himself because he was embarrassed that he didn't know the language to go ask for help. And so he would mess up the car, he would do stupid mistakes, and it would end up costing him a lot of money. And I didn't learn from that. I wanted to be him and figure it out. And so over time, that was probably my biggest mistake was, not asking for help. As my business started growing and as I started learning from some of these mistakes, I started looking at my business instead of internally like this, how we usually do it, where it's all about me. And I started getting rid of the ego and learning that I needed help. And I started going this way and asking for help and saying, please, can you look at this? What do you think about this? And I developed my saying where I say, we like to go slow to go fast. So it would take me a little bit longer. I would slow down a little bit. I'm still a very knee jerk reaction type of guy, just type A personality. But because my wife is the opposite, and I've been with her for about 11 of those 20 some years, um, she's helped me find another side of me that needed to be tapped. And that was the ability to discern, to take your time, to look at things, to get advice, to look at other things from a different perspective. That doesn't necessarily translate into a no, but it might be not right now, right? And so you look at things in a different pair of eyeglasses, and it gives you a better perspective to make better decisions.
So I love that you recognize that your ego was in the way.
Oh yeah,
And what happened that made you recognize that you needed the help?
man, I'm an open book. I'll tell you that right now. I don't hold anything back because my story is probably somebody else's story in the making. Um, Back in 2008, when the debacle happened with the financial crisis, um, I I really hit a dark spot inside of that because my ego got shattered. I lost everything inside of that world. And I couldn't even get a job in the financial services, which is what I cut my teeth in for so many years. And all of a sudden, I'm persona non grata inside of that world, and I have to go sell cars at Chapman in Arizona, a used car dealership in Mesa, and literally start from the bottom. Like, and what it did was it gave me a whole new set of thinking and ideas. And but behind the scenes, I was becoming an alcoholic, and I was drinking to drown this ego that I couldn't keep, I couldn't seem to catch. My marriage with my first wife was falling apart. I had three young children, and all of a sudden my lifestyle, everything that I knew, was gone. Right, I lost my houses, my cars, and here I am selling cars on the weekends and the evenings, and it was very humbling, right? Because it took you from being at the top to being at the bottom, and that experience is what led me to change and to really find that that other that higher power that said, look, this isn't about you anymore. You need to change, and you need to start making better choices, and start living better. And it did. It was a catalyst of going from really dark to finding the light, and having to make some really critical changes to turn things around. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of what forced my credit program to develop, because obviously I had to fix myself, and so I became my first case study in developing credit and fixing credit. And then from my debacles in alcoholism, going to AA and learning about recovery and how to help myself get better. Through there, I met my wife, and we got together and we helped each other. And my businesses at that time, I ended up losing all my licenses because of my DUIs, and so I had to start from the bottom. I had to write letters, go through appeals. I'm talking about life insurance, real estate, mortgages, everything that had a license, I lost. And so I needed to fight, claw, and work my way through a lot of battles to try to get approved and to try to get back to square one, just to get to to ground zero, you know. Um, so that, I think, was the building blocks of what's led me to where I am today, is having to go. I don't wish this on anyone, but it was for me, it was probably the most necessary thing that needed to be done, because my ego had taken on such a gargantuan proportion that if I didn't do something drastic like that, who knows what would have happened. But I probably wouldn't be here on this earth because of that ego. So it put me back in check. It made me appreciate the little things. I'm talking about, flowers, and being able to wake up and go walking and running and exercising and eating right, and enjoying the plenitudes of the world that God gives us every day. And that led me day by day to want to just master and take on the world and help more people, because that's step 12 of our program, is the law of reciprocity and helping others. And that led to where I'm at. I'm grateful and blessed.
Well, wonderful. I really appreciate your openness and sharing the deep story, because it just shows how the world of business and life can bring us down, and we have to claw our way back. And I think that's a great thing. I want my audience, the achiever, to recognize is sometimes you have to claw your way back. And that's what's needed. You have to grow, you have to change, you have to make better decisions. You have to stop doing things, you have to start doing things. And I really appreciate your openness and sharing that.
Thank you.
Today, how would you define success today?
Oh, success. It's funny, because I had this conversation just the other day, and typical individual traditionally thinks of success in all these things, right? These fashionistas, high level, beautiful homes, cars, blah blah blah, and those are great. Those are things, right? But at the end of the day, when I expire, we're all gonna expire, right? We all have a date. We just don't know what that date is. I can't take any of that with me, right? What I can take, what I can do is build a legacy, that my kids and my grandkids and everybody down the line can look back and look at my history and what I did to overcome, and use that as an example to help my kids become better people, right? So if I find success in how we carry ourselves daily, in how we act, and how we treat others, with the commonality of love, right? Because if you carry love as the center point, it overcomes fights, objections, hate, anger, all these negative things that go with what usually goes with ego, right? And now you're living a little simpler. You learn how to deal with these problems that arise. You're more open to help because you're in the spirit of giving and helping. But ironically, it also opens up all these opportunities and doors, and the law of reciprocity kicks in, and you don't, you're never, there's never a scarcity in your life because you're so plentiful with how you live that even if you don't have any food in your refrigerator, you have so many friends that you're never going to lack food because they bring you food or whatever. There's just so many ways to live, and that's success for me because I found that the money's come and go, things come and go, but the ability to have peace of mind, of being able to sleep, of being able to wake up with gratitude and plentiful feelings of blessings, that reciprocates and goes to your wife, that goes to your kids. I mean, that's what they see. They see this every day when they're with me. And that goes into what they do. You know, I have 3 kids that are doing their own things and they're very successful in their own right. But I think that the foundation was set that they saw that they could do it. There was no, and what I say is break down the walls. There's no walls. We're going to be able to do it. It's all right here in your mind. 6 inches of plentitude and the thought process of I can instead of I can't. Right. So it does go with that. Success for me is putting all those little pieces of the puzzle together to build that vision, whatever that is that you want. Everybody has to have a vision. And I have my vision. And I said, I just want to be a better person. Right. I want to be able to sleep at night. I want to forgive and be forgiven and do better. Right. If I can do that daily, it compounds. And compounding is a big part of my business. Teaching people how to compound their money, how to compound their life, how to compound love, all the compound effect. That's what they call it the eighth wonder of the world. They didn't call compounding the eighth wonder of the world just on account of money. It works in health. It works in everything that you do is on a compound effect. If you do a little bit better every day, it compounds, and by the end of the year, you're doing a lot better. And that's how I've done it. When I was at zero, when I was at negative, it was, well, what am I going to do today to change that, right? So looking in the mirror and being very honest and very truthful with the things that need to be done, that's hard, but it's necessary.
I love it. You got to be truthful with yourself. You got to be challenging. You got to, success is more than money. It's how you impact others. I love how you said peace of mind and gratitude. And I
Yes,
think that's a great thing. I want my audience, the achiever, to recognize is we've got to have that peace of mind. Success is peace of mind,
yes.
and in all areas of your life. And
Totally.
and that's very good. So I appreciate that insight. What's a big risk that you're taking now, a ceiling that you're trying to break through today?
Mm. Wow. It's this is great because you're hitting on some topics that are what I'm living, right? So when I developed through my partner and I developed this high level to high level program, the biggest thing was the haters and the people that didn't understand how the program works. So it was all about it sounds too good to be true. It's a scam. All the things that the negative things that go with it. And for me, it was like, well, I can listen to that negativity and let it affect me, or I could be like the Wright brothers when they started building this crazy apparatus that supposedly could fly. And what that is the same thing that I'm getting. Like I'm building this apparatus that can help you 10x your money and get out of debt. And what that's like a unicorn. Nobody can do that in 6 months or whatever it is. And I had to tell myself, well, I don't need to do this in one day. I mean, I don't have to do this overnight. This is going to be something that's going to develop, and it's going to develop through people going through our program and having the story to say it's working. Over time, that compound effect and the people that are living it that can say it worked in their life and this is how, that's going to be the only way to be able to tell my story with this program, right? That ceiling that I built is very high, right? And I know I can shatter it just because every single month we're breaking records inside of what we're doing. We used to do one-on-one Zoom presentations or one-on-ones to be able to explain it. Now we're doing webinars twice a day and encapsulating 50 to 100 people, and it's getting out there. And one by one, they're coming in and they're experiencing what I'm talking about. And I'm not this person up here that they can't reach. I'm touchable. I'm like, I'm here. So that way they can get a direct from the founder of what needs to be done. And that's real, because one of the things I'm trying to avoid in my success is getting back to that ego. I know how quick you can jump back into thinking that you're better, you've made it. That is when the red lights go off and the horns to, hey, say slow down, because things can get taken in a minute, right? When it happened to me in 2008, it happened like that, I'm always looking at, how do I lay down my foundation? How do I run this thing with the right people to be able to do all the things necessary so that we can avoid the what ifs, right? There's always what ifs in business. You have to ask yourself, well, what if this happens? How do we overcome that, right? But if you're prepared, you're better able to deal with that problem when it happens and when it comes, right? So that's kind of how we're preparing. We're preparing for continual success in elevating and going to the next level with our business. Obviously, as we showcase this product to the masses, there's going to be a lot more people that are going to be able to talk about the success and how it works. But until then, we just got to be in the trenches, and we got to keep working, and we got to keep believing in ourselves, and what we're doing is helping others, and stay true to ourselves.
I really appreciate you sharing that, because that's a ceiling of ego again. You
Yes.
want to make sure that you're not going back to where you were. And I think
Right.
that is a ceiling to break through, is that you keep focused and you keep going to that next level in the business and in your growth. So, to tell us the biggest area of growth that you've had in yourself. How have you changed the most in the last 3 years? What's the biggest difference between 3 years ago and today?
I took a bigger role in my health, in my rest, in learning how to slow down and compartmentalize my time with my family, my wife. I take more trips, to relaxing trips, to actually energize. As hard as it is to disconnect from social media, I've started learning how to disconnect. I'm talking about very integral self-development in my readings and my listening to audiobooks, and developing other channels of thinking, right? Because that's what's helping me understand others better. Communication, love, I mean, all areas, because we would be delusional to think that just because we changed and did better in one area of our life, that we don't have deficiencies in others. And what I started seeing was that in my health, I've always been a very active person. I was the captain of my soccer team in high school. I was in college soccer. I worked out. I loved that part of it. But when I became addicted to my work, an entrepreneurial holic, if you can call it that, and then got into other vices because of that personality. I had to get it back, and I had to come back and go back to the basics and figure out what I needed to do to live better, right? Because I wasn't sleeping good, I wasn't eating right, I was taking life for granted. And then what does all that do if you have all these things and businesses and whatnot, and you're not able to help yourself because you had a heart attack? I'm not saying you can't get a heart attack. You can, but what if I was able to not be like my dad, who died at 73 because he didn't do some things in his life in his 40s, 50s, and 60s that could have elongated his time, and he could have probably lived few more years that he could have spent with his grandchildren? What if I want to elongate my life to be able to give this legacy, which is what we've been talking about success, is to give it to my kids? Well, I need to be that point of example to them and be able to show them that, yeah, I was out of shape or I was here, but I'm taking the bull by the horns and I'm going to make myself better because no, my wife can't do it for me. They can't do it for me. I'm the only one that has the power to control the effort and the work that goes into choosing what I eat, choosing how I work out, all these little nuances that goes with living better. But it does, it works. You go and you put in the work, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, it's that compound effect again.
I really appreciate you talking about your health because that's one thing that we can get so focused on working, so focused on our business that we let those things slip. So I
Um,
loved hearing how you focused on your sleep, you focused on your eating habits, your exercise, and it's really helped get you more balanced in life. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And that's a good
Thank you.
challenge for our achiever out there to make sure that you are balanced in life for your health and your family and your business. And that's why we talk about all three because that's a big powerful thing. Just a couple more questions here, Jimmy. I'd love to hear what you want to be known for. If there was anything you want to be known for, what would that be?
I think that unselfish character of wanting to help, it's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to find friends that will be willing to help and do things. And I've always kept an open door policy where I feel that if I can give of myself in that way, it's such a cool feeling when people from my church or friends call me and say, Jimmy, I don't know if you can, but I got this problem. Is there any way you can help me? And many times it's not the actual physical effect of me doing it, but me being able to say, you know what, I can't right now, but I have somebody that can. And because I built that bridge of trust with family and friends and church members, I can call on somebody and say, hey, can you help me with this person over here that needs a ride or whatever that is? That unselfish love has helped me in so many ways, and that's what I want to be known for. I definitely give that to my dad because I remember as a kid, my mom would actually get mad at him because he wouldn't say no to anybody. He was always helping people, and it brought a lot of happiness in his life in doing that. And it was unselfish. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't always about. It was just helping others, and I think that is something that I would love to be known for.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's unselfish love. It's what I heard. So I
Yes.
love that. I love that. Jimmy, I really appreciate you being on the show. You've shared a lot of insight, and I just want to reinforce a couple of takeaways that I heard from Jimmy today. One of the thing is we can lose everything, but we've got to claw back. And we've got to be strong enough. We've got to break through our egos to get to that next level. And at the same time, we've got to overcome and break down the walls of our belief system, our challenges and our needs, and slow down and focus on our health, slow down and focus on our sleep, focus on our family, and balance that more with what our business that we're building. And that's a great tip for our achiever, the audience, to remember from today. So thank you so much.
Thank
Jimmy, I
you.
really appreciate your time today. Thanks for being on What's Your Ceiling. If there was one tip you'd leave for our audience, the achiever, what one tip would you give them?
I would say stay true to yourself, love yourself, forgive yourself. It all starts with you, and from there you can help others. But be true to yourself, help yourself, and love yourself.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for joining us on
All
What's Your
right.
Ceiling today. Really appreciate
Thank
it. Make
you.
sure you like and subscribe to our program, and we'll look forward
Definitely.
to seeing you on the next podcast. Thanks for
Love
joining
it.
us.
Thank you. Take care, Monty.